live stream running. And let's move this a little bit. Okay. All right. My name's Moshe. I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Today is Thursday, January 8th, and it's 8:01 in the morning, and it's nippy again. Again, I wouldn't know. I don't know the right word. Nippy. It just depends, what kind of temperatures you're used to. If you live in New York and New Jersey, you'd think this is pretty mild. So we're at 58 degrees right now. I put one of the dogs out there. Of course, it's quite sunny. So 58 and the sun for a dog with a coat of fur is really pleasant. They like it. 73 is the high, although I heard it could be higher on another weather channel. I don't know. And sadly, they're thinking of rain tomorrow and the day after. So that's what they're projecting. So before I forget, let me put out a quick prayer if you don't mind, and you guys can agree with it. My Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray that we don't get all this rain that they're forecasting in the coming days. I pray it be minimized in my immediate area. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. And you can agree with that if you're a believer. Today, what I'm going to do is something I never did before. I collected a summary of a lot of end times events, like volcanoes, earthquakes, government overthrows, protests, wars, and I'll give you a very good, accurate summary of that. A lot of it is going to be for the last year, 2025, and a lot of it is going to be for December. And this is something that the people escape. And I don't see anyone out there on the internet putting it all together. Like Israel with a seven front war in the middle of all this, They don't do that. Instead, so many of them are hung up on Ukraine, Russia. Trump seized one of Russia's oil tankers, the Dark Fleet or whatever they want to call it, And one of the guys in Russia says, "Oh, we'll torpedo the American ship." Yeah, sure you will. Yeah, right. That'll be today. They're too scared to do anything like that, and Trump's too scared to torpedo them. Let's put it that way. So they're just sitting there, not knowing what to do, eating a lot of tossed salad. So, people get all reactionary over that Russia's going to do. Russia can't even handle Ukraine, for crying out loud. How in the world? And Russia can't even handle Ukraine, which has handcuffs on from Europe and American companies giving them missiles and restricting, how long the range of the missiles is going to be that they give them and what they can hit and what they can't hit. If they just unleashed Zelensky, he'd have Russia dead and buried in probably 2 months. So what are you running around? You're running from Russia, which by itself is nothing. Now, if you take Russia, Belarus, Iran, North Korea, China, and a bunch of hateful Muslim states that are terrorists, now you got something. But Russia standing by itself doesn't get anywhere. Yet they keep talking about the news over there. And, end times events isn't gonna trigger with two heathen nations fighting each other. It won't work that way. But they never tell you that. All right, so we'll get into that. We'll get into what's up with Iran, and that is real significant. Iran is not Ukraine or Russia. Okay, Iran is very, very significant. Okay, because it can affect and will affect the Middle East nations, and it is in prophecy being destroyed by her enemies. So this is, and we know in Jeremiah 30:11 and Jeremiah 46:28, all the nations that the Lord sent the Israelites into get destroyed. And that's on or around Jacob's trouble, probably on the day of vengeance. Now, that means Iran got to go before that, because it says the people all leave Iran and they get scattered into all the other nations of the world, every one of them, where the sword follows them and they get cut off. So they really we don't have a lot of time left for that, as I see it. Now, I also went back and studied a little bit more deeper yesterday about Elam. And yesterday I said, well, I guess it's probably just Iran, but I got deeper into it, and no, it's likely, I can't say definitively, but likely also Iraq, and maybe even parts of Syria. So it's not, you know, it's not what I said yesterday. I read it and I researched it, and I said, well, but then after I got off the air, I said, I don't think I dug deep enough. And I went back and dug deeper, and I'll cover that with you today. So, yeah, it can still be. And, the thing that Iraq has the drought, the same as Iran, always troubled me, because it leans itself heavily towards, yeah, Iraq is part of Elam. It fits together a little bit too good. Uh, Let me see here. I think I might have a prayer request. Let's take a quick look. Yep. All right, I'll have to. We got a pretty complicated prayer request here, so let me cut and paste it, and we'll do that with the prayer request in a little bit. Okay. I don't have a lot of prayer requests, I think, too. Let me get this where the prayer requests go. I'm trying to cut down on the amount of material I got, like, every day, but it's so much going on, it's about impossible. I just can't cut it all down. Some of the stuff, whoops, what do we got here? Problem here. Some of the stuff we just got to deal with. All right. And is there anything else that just came in? Um, huh. So that would be it today. Okay. One second, guys. All right, not important. And All right, let me jump into our live stream and see how it's going. And people are coming in and all that jolly good junk, which is important. Looks like we're in good shape. Jump into our live stream and we are. See how it's going. Oh, what happened now? Where did this thing go? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I lost it. Wait a minute. No, there it is. All right, let me get a post up very quickly. It'll be seconds. Almost there. Let me get this. All right, let's get this. Why didn't it take? I don't know. Try again. Oh, it did. Okay. All right. Being a Bible. Ooh, that sun is horrible, but the sun is a good thing. All right. Being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, will do some praise. Okay. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, so Iran is continuing to fall, okay, with some people call it a coup. I wouldn't call it a coup because a coup, it typically has the connotation of the military overthrew the elected official or dictator or whatever, that they overthrew him. So this is more like a civil war because it's the people of Iran getting rid of the government. And they're killing police. 2 police got killed in the last 24 hours or so. And they're pretty well armed. I don't know how well, but they got plenty with guns running around. All right. So here's what it boils down to. Do you think America and Israel are supporting these revolutionaries? I wouldn't call them protesters. Revolutionaries or Che Guevaras or whatever, you know. Yeah, they are. You know, but it's not like Castro got rid of Batista in Cuba, but Batista was garbage and Castro was garbage also. So you got, you know, Sun Valley garbage. You change it for, northeastern garbage. Yeah, yeah, it's a garbage. You got rid of one jerk and you got another one. But the Iranian people are probably not going to go that route because the country's going to be destroyed. Now, maybe this son of the Shah of Iran, who's trying to direct things from America, maybe they put him in the palace or the offices of Iran with 2,500 or so American soldiers, and they got a nice armored helicopter sitting there all the time. And, he just runs outside, gets in the helicopter, and takes off if it gets bad. But they probably won't do that because it looks bad. Um, it looks like they put a new prime minister or president in Iran, and he's got one foot out the door. The office of supreme leader or commander, that'll be done away with. They'll have a prime minister or a president. I don't think they'll go with the king, and I don't think they're going to go with a religious leader. Okay? So he could get in prematurely, and then the Iranians can raise the military and the government could be raised up against him, maybe as underground fighters, Che Guevara's, or I don't know what. It's a possibility. You never know. But the ultimate destiny of this country in the fairly immediate future is destruction. Okay? Same with Yemen. So, Iran is now threatening America. Now, why would they threaten America and why would they threaten Israel? It's easy to see. They believe America and Israel are behind the protests. Do I think that's correct? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure it is. Will Trump and Netanyahu get out there and talk about it? Yeah, when it's over. Not now. Iran has figured it out. And if they do nothing, then America and Israel are going to keep feeding it. Now, am I sure that France and the UK and Germany are not in on this? No. Do I think there's a good chance they are? Yeah. But I'm not sure. Okay? France and the UK just made an announcement, now I don't know how serious it is, that they're going to put troops in Ukraine. Now, is that designed to provoke a war with Russia, bigger and worse? No. It's designed to push Russia into a diplomatic solution. That's what that is. We don't know which way Russia will turn. Okay? All right, moving along. So, the way they figure they get it to stop would play like this: limited strikes against America military bases in the region and against Israel. Not, rocket bombardment, a handful. What does that do? Well, the Iranians' point of view is it's designed to get America and Israel to rethink and know and understand that if they don't stop supporting this revolution, there's going to be more and more missile attacks. What will Trump and Israel do? Give Iran more missile attacks and support the revolutionaries heavily, more so. They'll think they're so close to ending it, let's end it. Will they shoot missiles and stuff back at Iran? Well, Trump won't. And Trump, he has no guts. He just said, he was talking, we're going to disarm Hamas. There's not going to be any second phase of the troop. Then he turns around today, or yesterday, I should say, it's early here in Israel. And he turns around and says, no, we're going to go to phase 2 anyway. See, he's got no guts. The reason that Iran is scared is because Israel has guts and will bomb them heavily and incessantly, and they know it. Israel would never do a ground invasion in Iran, which is completely not set up for it. But America could and would, and that oil, you know. So if you have a civil overthrow of the government by we the people of Iran, well then the oil fields will likely be intact, and the refineries, storage tanks, and so forth, and then Trump takes it over. Now, if he picks up the Venezuela oil supply, which he just about has already, and then picks up the Iranian, he made some massive gains. Both of them are functional now, but far from at peak capacity. So if he can tweak them and expand their capacity, he's got a lot. Will Trump counterattack Iran? He probably would, a token counterattack. He's stupid if he doesn't realize he's going to have to get his hands dirty to get rid of the Iranian mullahs. But he'd like Israel to do it. Israel would like to do it, but I tell you the truth, and most people won't listen to me. Trump's repeated and consistent cowardly behavior with Hamas, with Iran, with many countries is going to destroy the United States. It's part of it because he's just waving a flag. I am Donald Trump. I am an egomaniac. I threaten war, but I very rarely would ever deliver. Even if you're a weak, small nation, I'm going to be afraid to deliver. So countries like Iran and Russia and China, they know Trump's not going to deliver. But on a threat. But if they attack America and try to crush America and their allies, they are correctly understanding that America will be painted into a corner and will have to come out fighting. That's probably the only time you're going to see Trump fight. Or, maybe he'd attack Nassau or Jamaica or something like that, Cuba, Venezuela, someplace where there's a low risk. But we don't know how low the risk is in Venezuela and who may have given them hypersonic missiles that could hit New York, Washington, D.C. We don't know that. Now, can Iran hit mainland United States? Yeah, I think so. Is that with a missile flying across the oceans with accuracy? No. It would be using disguised boats that can launch missiles and drones and getting them close to the shores of America, trying to make them look like a commercial vessel. So that could happen on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Gulf, all of the above. And they just try to get them as close as they can. 200 miles is really close. And does America really wonder about ships getting within 200 miles of the U.S. when the ship's not, domiciled in Iran? It's some Caribbean country like all the rest of them. And I gotta shut this off. Hold on a minute. And the ship, they have no tracing of the ship. to Iran. It's all offshore corporations, and it doesn't look like it's carrying oil. It's a container ship, and container ships don't generally carry oil. And container ships never carry oil. And stuff like that. I mean, America doesn't care if Iran's shipping pistachio nuts out or stuff like that, Then they could, 200, they could get even within 100 miles, easily, probably 60, 56. I don't think America really watches too carefully unless it's under 100 miles, and then maybe not even. There's too many ships. So then the ship opens the containers up and puts missiles out. And another ship has drones, and they start launching drones and missiles, as long as they can get away with it. They might get sunk. They might just launch drones. They might be able to get away with that. Put 40, 50, 70 drones up attacking some targets and go away. The problem is when they get the drones on radar, they're going to get real suspicious, and they're going to try to find out what it is. And when they see it's a drone, they're going to put all sorts of measures against it. But if you've got a large amount of them, you might get a few through. But if you combine drones with ballistic missiles, oh man, you got something going on. That's very hard to defend against. So we're watching this closely to see what happens, because we don't know. We don't know what happens. We know it will happen, but we don't know how and all the details. So it's a really good move for Iran to attack Israel and America now, because if they don't, they're doomed. If they go out and start massacring the public, America might be able to raise 5 or 6 countries to join in with them other than Israel. And then they've got a massive problem. What'll happen then is 60 naval fleets will assemble, naval boats, and, they'll get a 200 or 300 aircraft. It'll be a massive wipeout. And Iran might be aware of that. They figure if they try a warning shot, a small dose of missiles and drones, and then America and Israel may just counter with a small counterattack, which they could easily survive, or it might be a wipeout attack from Netanyahu or something, but they're probably figuring Trump's not going to tell Netanyahu to do that. So then where are we at with that? Well, so we kind of watch this, and we look to see what's going to happen. I don't know yet. You see, Iran's painted in a corner. If it does nothing, it's over. Now, a lot of gold just went out of Iran to Russia, by the way. So it could be that Khomeini is just stripping all the money out of the country like Bashar Assad did. And then he's just going to pull out. And he'll take a bunch of people with him. Now, he's talking to something like 200 people, 100 people or something. I don't know if Putin's going to put up with anything widespread like that. Putin might tell them, hey, you want to bring 12 people or something. I don't care, but that's it. So Khomeini might be able to bring his son and the son's family and, 2 or 3 high-ranking officials that he's close with, and they bring their families, and that's about it. So I'm concerned as to how that plays out and when it plays out. A lot of the money, it's safe to assume, was Bitcoin. And it's a little tricky getting Bitcoin out of there. It's not that easy. Because unless you keep it in Bitcoin, then it takes 2 seconds. Then why is the delay? See? So it's probably not Bitcoin that he's focusing on. It's probably the banking, when you think about it. Because that's tricky. The Bitcoin, if you keep it in Bitcoin and just use it to purchase things, like, I don't know, buy a house, buy a car, buy a business, I don't know, whatever the heck this dweeb could buy or wants to buy, can be done, Yeah. Don't have a place. Put it on the floor. So, see, the way Trump wants to play is let the people of Iran overthrow the government. If the government is gone, the military may not fire the ballistic missiles. They may not do that. They'll be worried. Khomeini took the money out of the country, They might try to make a deal. Who knows? All right. So this is a very dangerous, volatile situation, and it needs very close watching, and we're doing that. Very volatile situation. All right, prayer requests for SS. Now, we have been praying for SS to depart from the military in America because the scriptures in several places tell us all the armies get destroyed. all of them. So it says, well, the prayer request is for SS, Sierra Sierra SS. Pray for healing, and the parents to have a good ability to take care of SS. Okay. So, you guys can pray. I can do a prayer and you could join in. Or you could just pray yourself for SS. Pray for healing, general healing, but there's a specific problem. It's very serious, and that the parents can take care of SS. Okay. Now let me get back to that other prayer. It was just a little complicated, I think. Not much, but a little. See, guys, when you I gotta usually revise the prayer requests because a lot of times I get them and they're so complicated. When people are praying, they're listening to this while they're driving, or they're working, or they're cleaning the house or feeding the baby. So when you get it, direct and simple, it makes it easier for them to pray, So sometimes I gotta streamline it. Okay. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I bind the unclean spirits from remaining in the following people whose initials I've been given: EM, Echo Mike; NM, Normandy Mike; EC, Echo Charlie. So I bind all the unclean spirits from being in these people any longer. They must depart, never return unto these people again. And I further command I bind all the unclean spirits from going in these three people, EM, NM, and EC, for the next year continuously. And any witchcraft, sorcery, curses, hexes, vexes, spells these people emanated forth or had others emanated forth for them or with them are hereby cast null and void for all time. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that if you like. Okay? So the people that in the family of SS knew that the situation for people in the military is rather dire, and we prayed for this to happen, that this person would depart from the military, and the departure was a good one, not anything ugly or anything. And now the person needs healing, because what the healing was related to is how the person got out of the military, and it took a long time. I think they felt they had an obligation to try to heal this person with the medical system. If I could open this stuff, it'd be great. To heal the person using their system. And I guess they fussed around for a year or so and they couldn't get anywhere with it. So then they said, well, this person's just dead weight, not performing or doing anything, just sitting there and sucking up hospital time. So they said, that's it. So goodbye. See you around the campus. And they put the person out, which is what the person, I believe, wanted, because he didn't want to be destroyed with the military. I had a friend, when I started preaching about that, he just blocked my email. He was in the Navy, and at one point worked with Navy SEALs, not an actual Navy SEAL member, but doing stuff with them, and put his kid in the military, got the kid to go in the military. I didn't like that. See, there's a lot of people that have been trained to be patriotic to their country. Go find a scripture that tells you to be patriotic to a country that's evil and run by transactional despots. I'd like to see that scripture. Especially when they're opposing God, So he just cut me off, There's a lot of people that just don't want the truth, okay? And they just cut you off. It's rather common and it's rather sad. And there's so many people clinging to America. America's going to be great again and all that. Well, the congressmen are talking like, hey, we better get rid of Trump before he invades another country, and this kind of thing. This is according to the U.S. government. Venezuela turned over $2 billion in oil to the U.S. This is Trump says this. In a move that could cut supply to China. It's going to have to take more than that, but it's on the way. Not 2 billion barrels, $2 billion, That's probably a shipload or 2 or 3 shiploads or something. That's all that is. But he's pushing China. See, he's pushing China into the wall, against the wall. And that's, of course China's going to come out fighting. So I don't know what Trump really wants. He wants to conquer the world by intimidating and threatening nations without actually fighting. Well, it ain't working much. British Member of Parliament Tom Tagerside, or I don't know. He's the former security minister in the UK. Said in the UK House of Commons that there were reports of Russian cargo aircraft landing in Tehran and large amounts of gold leaving Iran. He learned it as something he had heard from intelligence sources and asked the government for more information. Well, that's nice. ICE officials fatally shot a woman. It was a young woman on Wednesday. Today's Thursday in Israel. It's morning, Thursday morning. Wednesday morning in South Minneapolis, according to the Department of Homeland Security. WCCO is at the scene near East 30, I think that's the TV or radio station, 34th Street and Portland Avenue. where federal and local law enforcement have clashed for hours with the protesters. So they didn't clash with each other, they're clashing with the protesters. Israel's foreign minister reminds the Iranians that while their regime allocates a mere $7 a month, I covered that with you the other day, $7 a month for it's a stipend to help them through their horrible economy. One Iranian rial, the dollar buys 1.45 million with an M, Iranian rial. It's a joke. The rial is like the dollar. It's a name for their currency. Okay. So they're giving the people a bump of $7 a month for a few months, 4 months. Yet at the same time, it pays a monthly salary of $1,800 to every Hezbollah terrorist. Think the Iranian people like that? Okay. Trump pulled out of 66 treaties. See, Congress is going nuts. 66 treaties. It's hilarious. One was the climate change. Another one was something to do with population. These are more obscure things most of you wouldn't be familiar with, mostly through the UN, I believe. So Trump is giving much less money to the UN now, and because he's out of these treaty things. And he doesn't, he doesn't want to waste his money. Now, he's not pulling out of the General Assembly or the Security Council. And he might strip it down to just that. I don't know. So this just shows you the pig dictator attitude that the Iranians have with the $1,800 a month U.S. dollars going to Hezbollah. By the way, $1,800 a month going to a Hezbollah in Lebanon, to give you just a rough shot at what it would equate to in America, it's probably something like $8,000 a month, maybe $10,000, because the economy in Lebanon is so bad. So they're living comfortably. They're not wealthy, but they're living very comfortably. In other words, their kids got all they want to eat. They got a comfortable bed. They're warm in the winter, cool in the summer. Their car works, that kind of thing. They got to go to the doctor. They go to the doctor. Does Iran give them health insurance? Who the heck knows? Iran's ability to support these rebels is going to dry up pretty quick. Okay. Posts circulating on social media platforms like Al Mayadin, that's a Muslim publication, correspondent. Okay, they claim that Iranian air defense is down 3 Israeli drones in the province of Western Iran, and this is flying around on social media, and I have not really been able to confirm it. I have seen these Muslim-oriented social media things post stuff that's ridiculous. It's like reading a comic book, you know. It's got all the credibility of a Superman show, you know. Okay. Iran is talking about executing another alleged Mossad operative, but I don't know what's up with that. Okay. This is a real interesting one. Converted Soviet drones used as cruise missiles found in a Hezbollah facility. Lebanese media aired images from a Hezbollah site between Kafra and Siddiqui, I don't know, south of the Alani River. That's the southern Lebanon, bad zone, so to speak, for Israel, that we don't want Hezbollah in there anymore, where the Lebanese army entered 2 weeks ago and has been dismantling weapons as part to place under the weapons under the control of the government. Well, I do believe they're definitely dismantling something, but I don't know how much, and I don't know how well they can be trusted. But Israel will be watching them carefully, and when their usefulness expires, then that's it. If they do get rid of them, well, then we'll probably settle down, you know. And yesterday, Hamas fired live ammo, of course, at IDF troops ahead of Rafah crossing opening. That's what we were told. So it was, you know, they're not in ceasefire mode. They're engaging in open gunfights with the IDF. So. Hamas fires on IDF troops. Okay. Iran saying they might fire on America and Israel is just to see if we'll cut back. You know, they're trying to get us to stop, but they don't want to have a fight. Why would they want to have a fight with America, Israel, at the same time their population is overthrowing the government? You know, it makes no sense. Hi, Beulah, you want to come in? Beulah, come. So, I don't know how serious Iran is about taking on America and Israel, but I think they have to. I don't think they're in a position to deny it. You know, they got to try. How successful will they be? I don't know. When they fire on Israel forces, it always ends bad for them. So they just do that to, you know, make the world think they're big, bad, tough guys. Okay, so let's talk about Elam. Now, this is what happened, and this is why it's a little confusing to understand it. Okay, Elam was never wholly part of Babylon. Now, Babylon existed for many centuries at the same time as Elam. So they can't be the same. All right. Right? All right. All the time. Anyway, but let's keep going and dig into it deeper. However, at times, parts of one country temporarily controlled parts of the other. That's Babylon and Elam, through conquest or occupation by military, not by being friendly. This was politically, militarily domination, not in incorporating it into the country. So, no full absorption of Elam into Babylon, and there was no full absorption of Babylon into Elam. So that means the countries were merging, but they were occupying and conquering and economically benefiting, I assume. So these were called temporary occupations, but sometimes they were, you know, quite long. They weren't a year or two, they were many years. Many. They remained distinct nations, and they were conquered by Cyrus, both of them. The short answer is Babylon captured and ruled large parts of Syria as well, especially under Nebuchadnezzar the second and in the 6th century BE. That's before Yeshua. Elam never did occupy Syria. Syria never occupied Elam, nor did that. So actually, I need to clean this up a little bit. So Babylon did rule parts of Syria, but that's not Iran. That's not Elam. Elam never did occupy Syria, so it's kind of unlikely it includes parts of Syria, unless places that we call Syria today are actually part of Iraq, which would be in Elam. So, I don't know that yet. Okay, let's see if Syria was ever part of Babylon. Let's see what answer I get. I don't know. Well, yeah, for a brief period of time, Babylon did occupy and control parts of Syria. Okay, let's see. Old Babylon, period 1800 to 1600 BC, under Hammurabi, Babylon expanded westward and exercised influence over Upper Mesopotamia and parts of northern Syria. That's what I heard, northern Syria, maybe. Um, I don't know for sure, but it's worth considering that Elam could include parts of or all of Iraq and parts of Syria, maybe. I don't know. Okay, it's a consideration. Iraq being part of Elam, that's right. There's a rather good case for that. Okay. Babylon, however, at one point did absorb Syria into a permanent core. See, we can keep doing this for days. Guys, it's very difficult. I don't know. My guess, and it's just a guess, is that it probably includes Iraq, which is Babylon, but I can't definitively say it. And it may even include um, Syria. I can't give you a guarantee on this, okay? But at least we've dug deep into it now, and we know the background for it. So, yeah, it's nobody really. There's very few people that talk about this at all. in the churchianity world or the Christianity world, whatever word you want to use. And the ones that you usually come across are churchianity, bad ones. So this is not going to fill the pulpits on Sundays, so they're not going to bother with it. Now, let's talk about all the wars being fought in the world right now. If that's not a good end time sign, what the heck is? There are wars and rumors of wars. Okay, let's go through this. This is pretty carefully researched, okay? Well, of course, we know Russia and Ukraine, right? Okay, let's move on. We know about Israel and Hamas. They were just shooting, right? Okay. That's Gaza, Israel and Gaza. We know about Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Yeah. Okay. We know about Syria, where Aleppo is clashing between government forces and Kurdish, and government forces or militias are attacking the Druze, the churches, and the Alawites. Yeah, we off and on. We know all that. Okay. Sudan civil war. Did you know Sudan is having a civil war and people are dying? Okay. Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, multiple armed actors, including M23, also ADF-linked. So what's happening there? Ongoing clashes and deadly attacks. The conflict remains entangled. Even in January, they were having attacks with regional politics, notably Rwanda-DRC tensions. Risk to regional war in the Great Lakes and chronic insecurity. Okay. Myanmar civil war, junta versus resistance groups. That's in Myanmar. So they're fighting. Sahel, Sahel, insurrections. What is this thing we got? Mali, Burkina Faso, Mali-Burkina Faso-Niger, and spillover fighting. Yemen, multi-sided conflict. Yep. Internal fragmentation and regional what is this? Invalid, I don't know, fightings, invasions. And what else do we got? Haiti. We got fighting in Haiti. Armed violence with international security involvement. Okay, so there's plenty of wars. Now let's go to earthquakes. Um, where did my earthquake figures go? Hold on. I'll get back to the earthquakes. Okay, world leaders that left or were thrown out of offices in the year 2025. Uh, Andre Rajoelina from Madagascar, October. Uh, Dina Boluarte in Peru, October. Milorad Dodik from Bosnia Herzegovina, Republic, August. Payton, whatever his name is, the head of Thailand. Justin Trudeau, Canada, January last year. He resigned. He announced his resignation, I believe. God, what the heck is his name here? Gambojai Zandanashatar from Mongolia in October, and KP Sharma. What? No. The guy from Nepal also went. He resigned after protest. Okay, so there's certainly been enough of that, right? That would fall, I think, under the category of disturbances in a way with Mark 16, but it's definitely something to look at, you know. That's for sure. What some of us say is when we communicate with each other, another one bites the dust. Now let's go through a brief summary of serious flooding in the month of December only, 2025, just 1 month. 8 to 10 major flooding events occurred worldwide. A major flooding event is major, you got a lot of water. Caused significant damage and evacuations and fatalities. North America, there was a powerful atmospheric river led to catastrophic flooding in the U.S. Pacific Northwest, parts of Canada, and evacuations and infrastructure damage. Additional floods hit Northern California and Montana. Middle East and North Africa. Israel saw localized road and urban flooding. I don't think we had anybody killed. Morocco experienced deadly urban floods after intense rainfall. Gaza was flooding. They were getting busted up, I think, deaths. Asia, Indonesia, and Afghanistan suffered fatal flash floods from heavy rains. Australia and Europe, cyclone-related flooding affected parts of northwestern Australia, while severe storms caused deadly flooding in southern Spain. I would say that we're into the continuing whirlwind of the Lord falling on the head of the wicked until what it set out to do is accomplished. So that's where the water comes from. And that's pretty serious stuff. Okay. Now let's go to what I've called disturbances for December 2025 with violence, okay? Several notable violent protest movements occurred in December 2025. Iran, well, we know about that, right? Then we got Bangladesh, riots and violent unrest, December 18th to the 20th. Following the assassination of a political figure, Osman Hadi, violent demonstrations, attacks, arson, and riots, this sort of thing. Okay. The protesters are they're targeting political offices, cultural institutions, and diplomatic mission sites. Okay, now we move to Greece. Farmer protests with clashes. Greek farmers staged large protests and roadblocks. Road blockading, clogging up a road, stopping it from moving. Okay, then we got Bulgaria, anti-government protests with some violence. Tens of thousands protested. So we got that stuff going on. See, what the media doesn't do that I wanted to do, and I did today, and I'm not done yet, is to put it all together for you. When you see all these things together, and don't forget Israel's got 7-front war going on that's hardly permanently over. So, you just never see stuff like this, okay, all together at the same time. Volcanoes. That's pillars of smoke in Mark 16 for an end time sign. Pillars of smoke. Because the volcano makes the smoke that goes up. It could go up 5-7 miles. Ongoing eruptions. Now, the thing when you look at eruptions, and they can be ongoing, like the volcano was troubled for 2 years or something like that, or 6 months, or whatever. All right. Ongoing eruptions continue. Many volcanoes were already erupting um, before and during December 2025. This is the month of December 2025. Just a 1 month period I'm going after here. Okay. In the month of December 2025, there were 45 volcanoes globally with ongoing activity during December, measuring well, there were more. It's a little complicated because they're ongoing, but that's what we got. Okay, we had quite a bit. That's like 1.5 a day for December, roughly, right? For volcanoes showing eruptive activity. That's a lot, guys. All right, let me get into earthquakes for you. I lost the data. I'll bring it up again. What is this? Where am I? I'm in the wrong place. All right. Let me get, I gotta go over a page. Okay. Um, all right. This just take a minute or two to get it up. If I remember when I did it earlier, it was counting a 2.0 or greater. It wasn't going under that. Still running. It'll get it. I got this is a sophisticated one I pay for, and it goes deep. I mean, it really dives, and it's very accurate. But it can't do decisions. Like, it can't really think and tell you if Iraq and Syria are part of Elam and Iran and all. It can't. It doesn't. It's stupid. You got to control it to get the right information. That's all you can do. You can't ask it the question and just forget about it. It's too stupid. If you wanted to say, where is the scripture that said this, or what is the real meaning of this word, or translate these scriptures from this language to that language, that's the kind of stuff it can do. It's still running. It'll get there. Still running. It'll get there. This is a deep dive. It's going to hundreds and hundreds of sources. Government sites, educational sites, all sorts of stuff. I mean, for me to do this would take a week probably, and it would be a lousy job. So give it 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's worth it. It's done. There'll be earthquakes in diverse places. One place it says there'll be great earthquakes in diverse places. In the year 2025, 690,000. Encompassing all detectable magnitudes from microquakes upward. Now we got to break down by magnitude. Magnitude 8.0 and over. There was an 8.8 earthquake in Russia, Kamchatka Peninsula, on July 29, 2025. We had a counting earthquakes of 7.0 to 7.9, 15. Those are big usually. Magnitude 6 to 6.9, 120. Magnitude 5.0 to 5.9, 1,986. Magnitude 4 to 4.9, 15,645. The magnitude of 4 to 4.9 is 15,000, I said, right? I think I said 646. Okay. This gives us a total of 17,777 earthquakes of a magnitude 4 or more. Now, that's a substantial quake already. Now, compared to historical averages, so the historical averages are, I think they're about the same. They're a little bit higher in some areas, yeah. They're a little higher. But we can't send it back in time to, hey, what was it like in 1300 or 1500? They don't have statistics, so you might have statistics from, the Balfour Declaration in 1917 forward, and even then you probably didn't have worldwide picking up earthquakes around the world. So, I don't know when they got good at it, 1925, 35, someplace in there, maybe 40, I don't know. But it certainly would have been deficient if you wanted to go back in time to like 1500 or something, right? You wouldn't get it right. What's Trump going to do about a lot of these protests and disturbances breaking out in the U.S.? Nothing. He's just going to behave like all the other presidents behave. Some will get arrested, they'll get released, they'll get a fine, They'll search them if they got contraband, they'll get more charges. They'll try not to beat them up, and it's going to be this pretty much like nothing's changed. I'm taking down this stuff so I know what I've covered. So I don't know how much you enjoyed this, but I tried to bring it out. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And it's not a smart idea to say, oh, let's check the earthquakes and all that. If you want to check all of these things, right, and see if you ever had this type of thing occurring like that all at the same time, you couldn't check that. I mean, where are you going to find Israel with 7 countries fighting it? I think the most was 5 we ever had. Let me check that for you. That's an easy one. Let's see what we got here. Okay. So we're going from 1948 to 2023. Did Israel ever fight 7 nations at the same time? No, never. No. I think the most was 5. In 48, we fought Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. That's 3, 4, 5. There was some symbolic attacks from Saudi and Yemen, which would bring it up, but I don't know how realistic it is to say that, but you might be able to get to 7, but it's not like it really is. 56, the Suez Crisis, Egypt only. 67, the 6-Day War. Egypt, Jordan, Syria, we had 3, and some support from Iraq which would make it 4 or 3, depending how you want to look at it. 69-70 war of attrition. Egypt with Soviet Union advisors was 1 or 2, depending how you want to look at it. 73 Yom Kippur War. Egypt and Syria, that was it. 1982 Lebanon War. Syria, the PLO, so, I mean, you had not much going on, 1 or 2. 2006 Lebanon War, that was just Hezbollah. So, how much weight do you want to put on the 7, front war? I'd give it pretty good weight, pretty solid. So we never had that before. Okay. Gaza, we all know, is attacking. Yemen, we all know, is attacking. And then Lebanon, we all know, is attacking. And Iraq was attacking. And Iran was attacking. And Syria was attacking intermittently, but with pretty decent consistency till the jerk ran out of, Syria. So you've got Yemen, Gaza, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Iran, and what am I leaving out? Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Iran. What am I? Hold on. Where am I getting this? Getting myself confused now. Hang on. No, not that. To get to 7, you got to put Egypt in there, which has got their army on our southern border and also bordered with Gaza. So that's what I wasn't putting in, and I suppose I should put it in. Because when they put tanks and artillery and over 100,000 soldiers on our border, it's not exactly being nice to us. So, but we haven't really had a shooting war with them. But that's the number 7 that I wasn't putting in. I didn't think of it. But you got 7. Over 100,000 soldiers, tanks. They built military fortifications. They got missiles. They got a lot of soldiers, over 100,000. That's where it's coming from. So we never had that before. So when you put all of this together, then it doesn't look the way it does when they just do one thing at a time. None of the newspapers give you earthquake counts, continuing whirlwind of the Lord counts, or, none of that. Uh, overthrow of world leaders and wars, and they don't do that. So that's the deal there. Okay, let me go in the live stream, see if we got any questions. I try to find things to do that nobody else does. Okay? That are relevant to what we're trying to study here, which is the prophecies of Israel. All right, let's see did this work? All right, what can I get? Let's see. Yeah, I might start taking vitamin D. I got a few jars of it. I also have a lamp for it. Not the regular lamps. This is a special one. I was telling you about a special form of magnesium I found that's great. And I did a typo on it. It's magnesium BIS glycinate, not BI. It's BIS glycinate. It's two words: magnesium space BIS glycinate, bisglycinate. It's really good stuff. The house is really full of sunlight much of the day. So we get some sunlight that way, you know. So it's not the person that I was talking about, the medical discharge from the military, received it and got a discharge already. So that person's on the way home or will be in a day or two or something like that. Or I don't know, a week or whatever the heck it is, but they're out. It wasn't a bad discharge, but it is a bad health problem this person has. That's bad. These people actually came to visit me in Israel once a long time ago. Nice people. Beulah was a lot younger than, more puppy-like, and this person made friends with Beulah pretty close. Of course, it's not hard to be friends with Beulah if you know, give her a couple of snacks and, play with her and pet her, and, she's pretty friendly. She's not, she'll defend territory, but in the beginning, people come on the property that they don't know, like family visiting. They don't know the family, She'll shy away for a while. The other dog will move in a little quicker because she's a real tough thug of a dog, but not aggressive. She'll move in quicker, and then she'll make friends. She really likes making friends with kids. They all do. Small kids are even better, Uh, the disconnect they have with little kids like 2, 3, 4, well, 4 not so much, 2 or 3, is the kids don't know how to play with them and they don't know how to play with the kid, but they want to, you know, but they can't establish what are the rules of the game? They don't know the rules of the game. You know, um, they don't like complicated games. If you just had a ball and you threw the ball and you raced them to get the ball, they would be really happy with that game because they know the rules well and they're going to win most of the time. And they like that, a hide and go seek, they can figure that one out. Um, you'd be surprised how they don't do that well. Like you go into a room, got to make sure they don't see you go into the room and hide behind the door and hold your breath down to a minimum or hold your breath. When eventually they go in the room looking for you, they don't smell you. And I've done this with all kinds of dogs that got really good smells because your smell fills the whole room. They can't pinpoint it down. And if you could hold your breath, they don't hear you breathing. And you don't move and you just stand there. They don't know what to do. I've fooled them a few times. They go out of the room. Lots of different dogs I've fooled. That's, I think, because the room is just full of your scent. Then I can't figure out where in the world you are. The whole house is full of your scent. So you could sometimes when they're in the room, they're not finding me. I would do something like scratch the door with my nails, and then they would, they run over there wagging their tail. I got him, stuff like that. It's not hard to outwit them, What's a really smart dog? What's their IQ, like 3, or something, But they're really nice. And cats are probably a cat would probably find you. A dog is not a real, well, there are dogs that are hunters. Beulah's a hunter. She's got the build of a greyhound, sort of, very close to it. And she's part Pharaoh hound from Egypt, where only the pharaohs were allowed to own these dogs. And, Beulah refuses to forget that. And she would run, in the wild, she would run down game and come up on it and just bite it and snap its head off or something. Light game, small stuff, rabbit, squirrel, or, nothing really big, So her body knows she has to be slim and trim. So sometimes she just won't eat for 2 days. Not sick or anything, she just won't eat. Or she'll nibble and then, because her body is telling her, cut it out, you can't get fat. Because if she gets fat, she can't run game. It would be self-correcting because she wouldn't be able to run animals down for 2 or 3 days, and guess what? She wouldn't be fat anymore, But even though she's living in the house, basically, and she gets, her food every day, she won't eat. Now you could tempt her, I'm sure, with a slice of roast beef or, something like that. She'd cave in, but so that's how she does it. So she keeps herself trim. The other one mommy will pack it on if you don't watch her. She's basically a guardian watchdog. She'd be very comfortable guarding a flock of animals. The best way to do that is not with one dog guarding a flock of animals. You got to get about 3 dogs that get along with each other, and the same breed helps, although different breeds could work, and they guard the flock together. The Zenith predator doesn't have any thoughts about, can I fight this dog? With three dogs, what happens is it's just the dogs know exactly what to do. One will engage the dog, the predator dog trying to kill the flock, engage him from the front and hold him, and then another dog will hit the rear, maybe the rear leg or something, and start mauling the leg, and the other one will grab it somewhere, who knows where, and start mauling it, and it's going to be a pretty painful, slow death, you know, for the predator. Now, if you're getting into a 125-pound mountain lion, well, I ain't never seen or heard of any of those in Israel, so I don't know, but those guys generally aren't going to fight with dogs that are good size. They'll eat a French poodle or something like that. But if you're talking about a 70, 80-pound dog, they don't want any part of it. Because the dog's going to bite them. And they know they're going to get bit. And the dog's going to try to maul them. And in the long run, it's going to kill the dog. But if you're talking a 125-pound bulldog, in the long run, plenty of times the bulldog's going to kill the lion, the mountain lion. Oh, yeah. Plenty of times. He'll have more jaw pressure. He has rather large teeth, not as large as those fangs, but he has to control the cat. So he has to grab the cat and hang on and shake it. Now, that's one-on-one. Now, if you've got two or three of these big bulldogs, the cat's got a lifespan of 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or something like that. They'll just kill it. It won't last long. Now, you may have to take them to the vet afterward for getting scratched up. In some countries, when they use these dogs to hunt mountain lions and stuff like that, they put a leather vest or some kind of special fabric that's pretty thick and tough around the body of the dog. It covers the breastplate and it covers around the ribs, and they tie it on pretty good. And then what you want to do is probably get a collar with spikes that's about 2 or 3 inches thick and put it on their neck. If it's a good-sized dog, a 3-inch collar does the job nice with a lot of metal spikes in it. So the mountain lion tries to go for the throat. He doesn't understand. And then he's trying to bite down on the spikes. Now, his adrenaline is surging, but the spikes are digging in, and he's not hurting the dog. So they're down on the collar, but it ain't going to do much good. It's certainly not going to choke the dog. And it's not going to, so that's how they do it to keep the dogs alive. Now, some of them take pit bulls, and the real pit bulls, they're like 45, 50 pounds a male. And they'll use 6 or 8 of them on a bear, and this is terribly cruel. The bulldogs will grab onto the bear and hang on and just keep shaking. But if you got 6 or 8 of them hanging on to a bear, after a few minutes, the bear's going to go into shock and, just lay down, and it's going to run out of adrenaline, it's going to run out of steam, and they're going to kill the bear eventually. But you're going to have trouble repairing the dogs after that. It's a brutal. These 125-pound bulldogs can handle a boar, a real dangerous boar with the tusks that's maybe 70 pounds, 80 pounds. They can handle all kinds. And a boar's not a cowardly animal. He try to get away, but if he can't, he'll put up a fight, a rough fight, and they can handle that. I had Neapolitan Mastiffs a million years ago that I used to breed. And those dogs are so tough. People that don't really have familiarity with them don't understand how tough they are. They got a head like this. The bone in the head is probably at least an inch thick. At least. So I'm telling you, if you hit that thing with a stick in the head, you probably aren't going to knock it out or do much to it. It might be an inch and a half on some of these, and their jaw pressure is, exceeds alligators and crocodiles. It's just incredible. And their fangs are almost the size of a mountain lion. Not quite there, but they're huge. And their mouth is really, really tough. And their strength is incredible, you know. They're just, and they're afraid of nothing, you know. And yet we had this big male, and I'd give him, like a hot dog or something like that for a treat, and he would just very slowly put his mouth over that and gently pull it away, and he'd swallow the whole hot dog whole. When we cooked T-bone steaks on the grill, or anyway we cooked them, I used to give him a bone, a good size, like, 8, 9 inch T-bone. The bone would, little scraps of meat on it still. And he would take the bone. I'm not kidding. And he would go, maybe for 10 seconds, and he'd just swallow. He'd pulverize the bone and swallow it. It's scary, jaw pressure. And we had the girl, she'd do the same thing, except took her another 5 or 10 seconds. And then they'd eat, big jumbo hot dogs. They just swallowed them, like an M&M. Oh, Did it ever upset their stomach? No, never. It didn't disturb them at all, And we had cats. We had Maine Coon cats, and they hated the cats. Oh my gosh, did they hate the cats? And the cats hated them. The cats were inside, they were outside. And occasionally we'd take them inside when it was hot, let them cool off and stuff. And once they almost got one of the cats, but he was so smart. I don't remember, it was an accident. I think the cats were locked up upstairs and somebody let them out. I don't remember. And all of a sudden, the cat was there, or maybe the dog snuck in. We had sliding glass doors. I don't remember. Somebody let the dog in, and he saw the cat, and he couldn't stop. He just couldn't help himself. He hated the cat so much. He bolted for the cat, and the cat ran to cabinet doors on ground level, took his claws and flipped the door open. It was spring-loaded, and hid in there. Now, how he knew that he could do that to get away from the dog, I don't understand how smart that cat was to do that, and knew it, unless he'd been exploring. I don't know. But the dog couldn't do anything about it. And if the dog did manage to get it open, it would have been clawed up. And I had him chase the cats from the lower level to the upper level, and oh my gosh, they would, they'll wreck your house that way, they had a hatred. Oh, I used to see the dogs sleep at night on the back porch when the weather was nice. They'd just sleep out there, lay down, and be snoring. And the cat would be inside the house on the other side of the glass doors, just sitting there watching them with hatred, just studying them, sitting there studying them. How can I get rid of these ridiculous creatures? That's what he's doing. He's just sitting there thinking about how I can get rid of this, I think one of the cats hated them more than the other, but we had to keep them separate. There's no real way to what people say. I've never tried it, but they say the way to do it is raise the cat as a kitten with the dog as a puppy. My opinion, it'd probably work because they'd be used to each other their whole lives, and it would probably not occur to them to start a fight unless somebody did something, like stole something from one of the animals or something. I don't know. Cats don't really have toys that they covet like a dog, so I don't think that would happen. What cats like is you get one of these things where it's a pole and a carpet on it, and it can climb up, and then it has a house at the top. They love that. They go in that house and sleep, Because if anybody's going to come mess with them, they're going to hear and feel it coming up, and they could defend themselves from inside the house with scratching. But My wife's allergic to cats, so we don't have cats. We don't have to worry about the problem. And we got dogs. They come in the house, go out of the house. They don't get along with each other as well as they used to when we first got them. I don't know. They've had fights, and I thought mostly boy dogs have fights. These are girl dogs, and they have fights. I didn't think that would go on. Anyway, so the general consensus around the world is Israel and Iran are going to be fighting, and I don't think Trump's going to be fighting because he's too scared to fight with anybody. So I doubt Trump is going to do much with Iran. He's going to try to stay out of it and just use his pit bull Israel to do it. And what gets me mad about this is Israel's going to get no benefit whatsoever over fighting with Iran. Nothing. Because Trump just sees this as a bunch of stinking rotten Jews. And you think he doesn't? Why doesn't he give us Gaza? Did he fight for Gaza? No. Did we fight for Gaza? Yeah. Did a lot of soldiers get killed and wounded? Yeah. Did we spend a lot of money? Yeah. And then he wants to take it away and make resorts out of it and gambling casinos. God doesn't think that's good. Believe me. You might think it's okay, but God doesn't. Trump's defying God, and God knows it, and Trump knows it. And that's going to go bad on Trump. Okay? Go bad. Trump is trying to show Satan how he doesn't like Jehovah and doesn't fear him and all this other stuff. What an idiot, So, he's going to want us to go fight Iran. Why? Well, Iran's going to launch back at us, they think, and it can't be the case, and cause more damage to Israel, get more Israelis to leave, hurt our economy. Less and less Jews come into Israel. Netanyahu's doing nothing to encourage Aliyah. Is he doing things to discourage Aliyah? Yeah. If we get rid of Netanyahu and we have another Satan bot, will they encourage Aliyah? No. If you get a non-Satan bot, they will. See, Israel could, let's make believe it's not so close to the end of these days. Israel could pick up 5 million Jews to come here if the country made sense for them to come. It doesn't make any sense to come. Let me give you a case in point. I know somebody that's an Anglo living in Israel. Never mind who. And this person has limited Hebrew skills and been here for years. Wants to get their eyeglass prescription changed, they don't really have an optometrist here in this country. An optometrist goes to college and then 4 years of optometry school. They call him a doctor of optometry. What they have here is like a refractionist or an optician, okay? But it's a weird thing. In America, an optician does not do eye exams. Here they do eye exams. So, what do? So this person needs new glasses and wants to get contacts. Has no idea what this, of course, in Israel. So the optician gets this person in a kind of a mishmash deal of some glasses and what's called astigmatic contact lenses, which normally don't work well. Astigmatism is on an axis. So to make it work, the contact lens has to stay in one location, but how can it do that when you're blinking? So they put a weight at the lower part of the contact lens that's supposed to keep the lens stationary, and they work very poorly. This guy probably knew that, and then went on to some long-term wear contact lenses, spectacles, and bangs a bill of 3,000 shekels on the person. That's practically $1,000. Now, eating these gingerbread cookies. All right, put them down. That's it. So nothing's working. The prescription for the glasses is crap. The contact lenses aren't working. The person keeps going back and forth, and they can't get it working. And then I heard about it, and it said ask for a refund. Or the person suggested a refund on their own. I can't remember. So they went back and, yeah, we'll give you a refund. Then the cock and bull stories apparently starts. No, because of the way you paid, we can't get a refund back on your credit card from America or some garbage like that, which doesn't make sense. If you can put the charge on your credit card, you can do a chargeback. Or maybe it was something else. Maybe it was this person paid cash and they said that they can't send it back. Well, anyway, it winds up that they can wire it back to America. So the eyeglass place says they're going to send a wire. And a couple of inquiries, no, give it time, a month goes by, phone call, no, I don't know, blah, 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 okay. So I said, if you complain to the licensing authority about this, most of the time what you're going to get back is if you have an economic dispute with the optician, you have to take him to court and sue him. Okay? Now, for an Anglo to sue somebody in Israel in court, first off, do I think there's discrimination against Anglos in the court? Yes, I do. That's my opinion. Number two, it's complicated legal words that most Anglos won't understand. Most Israelis won't understand them either. Like if I was talking about law in America and I said, what's a deponent? Probably 98% of you wouldn't know what a deponent is. It's somebody that's being deposed. And most of you wouldn't even know what deposition of being deposed is. Okay. So that means you're going to have to get yourself a lawyer. And the lawyer is going to cost you more than 3,000 shekels to sue this person. So why are you doing that? Well, you're going to try to get your legal fees back. You might get some of them back, not much. Okay, so you might have a loss. You might come out 1,000 shekels ahead, and you might, they just know you're not going to do it. So what I said to this person, I said, tell them that if you don't get your money pronto danto, you're going to make a complaint to the licensing agency that handles you people, and the complaint is going to be fraud, not just an economic complaint, fraud. Well, that was an email, and then the next day, a phone call and says, come tomorrow and we'll have your money cash. Well, did you send the wire? And they said, no, we never sent the wire. We couldn't get the wire sent. So these crooks kept the money, never said boo about we haven't sent the wire yet, right? I'm just hoping this person would just go away and forget about it. And now they're facing a complaint of fraud, and they were going to lose because they were just sitting on the money and never did anything for a month to refund it. They just ignored it. They said, yeah, we'll send it, and did nothing, right? Now that's fraud, So they don't like that when people do that stuff because it gives the whole industry a bad name, right? So then everybody says, oh, you can't trust the opticians. So they gave the cash. Go down there, here, boom, all over, everything. The exam fee, they got so scared, everything went back. So I said, go to this place. I use them, and they're pretty good. They do go to eye exams, and, they're nice and everything. So they're not the cheapest, but they do good work. Person goes there, gets an exam, tells me, wow, they really did a good exam. Oh, this really works. They couldn't believe what this guy did to me. They almost fell over when I told them what they charged. So the price, instead of 3,000 shekels, was 600 shekels. These are the crooks you get in Israel. These are the 2/3 that are going to get cut off. These are the ones that take advantage of the ones that were not born here in Israel. They can talk to you, and they know you're not speaking with the correct born in Israel accent, okay? They know that. And like you would know it, you're in America, someone says, my name is Larry Brown, or something like that. Or, Oi, I'm glad to meet you. My name is Mohammed McBooboo, they're not from Israel, they're not from America. And they do that here, and then they try to rip you off. Americans don't normally do that. Okay? Here, they normally do that. And it's disgusting. They'll do it to Ethiopian, they'll do it to Russian, they'll do it to New Zealand, Australian, Canadian, Brit, French, German, Switzerland, anybody. Brazil, Argentina, they'll just do it. So they got theirs in Israel, and then their job now, as they see it, is to rip off and scam and fraud the people that were not born here that came. Oh, man. Do you know how mad Jehovah is about that? That's why 2/3 get killed, get cut off, dead, because of the ripping people. It talks about the ripping off the newcomer, leading them out of the way, and taking, ripping off the widows, the orphans. There was this old widow lived behind us in a private house, a small house. Probably 86, 89 years old, old, right? Very bad health, dead now. And had a house. And some people moved in and they wanted to get that house and this person had no intention of selling the house. I believe they owned it outright. And where were they going to go? You know, and the person liked gardening, was out in the garden all the time. So what happened? Well, they went through the records in the public registry, in the government where you put your title and all that. And they read all the records and they saw one thing that was not right. It was a petty little error in the paperwork or something. Nothing with nothing. It had been ignored all these years. And they went ahead and attacked it because this was an old widow. And they went ahead and attacked it and said that this is an incorrect title and the person doesn't own the house and they want the house. So this old lady had to go out and hire a lawyer. And it was no problem. The lawyer got involved and got the mistake fixed in the public records and went to court, and they told the judge they had it fixed, and they won the case, of course. But the same rotten real estate broker that got us in trouble, where he wrote a lease that the landlord never read, that said that the landlord would make the repairs and caused a big stink. That same crook was involved in this episode to try to rip the person off for their house. And I'll tell you, the woman who owned the house was a Satan bot, but she was in dementia and senility, we knew her. And the real estate broker, was a Satan bot. Well, I'm pretty sure he's a Satan bot. Not a false believer, but that's the kind of garbage you get in Israel, Then my wife found a new supermarket chain the other day from France. I know they came here and opened up supermarkets. She said, you wouldn't believe. She came back from the place. She said, no, they didn't have any French cheese or meats there. Before she went, she said, I'll look, but you're not going to get it. Why? She said, because the Israeli people only eat the same junk. They don't go and try anything different. She's right. I tell her that too. I mean, I agree with that, So that's why if you start opening up some kind of a food establishment here and you put in anything different, we this sells great in Germany or France or Japan. They won't buy it. They eat Arab food mostly. Okay. The Anglos will eat good food, but a lot of the Anglos live in the West Bank and they don't have that. And a lot of Anglos live in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Netanya, and they have good food there, like from America and other countries. They really do have it, We live in the Galilee and we don't have it up here. All right. You want to find a kosher-style deli in the northern part of the Galilee, where I am in the Galilee? You won't. You want to find an Arab restaurant? Oh, gosh, there's tons of them. All right. So my wife comes back and says, no, they don't have the French cheese. They don't have the French meats or anything like that. Just standard food. But she says, it's so cheap there. I'm not shopping anywhere else anymore. That I didn't expect. So these guys not only have a food outlet, they have like a super Walmart, where they got all the different things in there, including food. It's like that. Um, so the French, they might be using, this is my suspicion, they might be using the food as a lost leader to get the people to go shopping there. So then they say, oh, I need new sheets. I need new towels. I need a new lamp. I need a new refrigerator. I need a new microwave or whatever, right? And it's there. I need some carpet. I need this, that, I need a bed. I need a sofa. They have all kinds of stuff there. I believe they probably have clothing too. So they might be smart, and they're saying if we bring the price of the food down, the people are going to come here. Now, the people come here and they're here anyway every week or every 10 days or every 5 days shopping for food. When they need something, they'll probably buy it here rather than go shop somewhere else. Is that sound marketing? I think it's extremely sound. And, I don't know if it's kosher. I think it is. That's a downside, but because the food tastes worse. And it put all that salt in it, it's not good for you. And there's nothing in the Bible that says, you shall salt your meat. For the food being offered on the altar by the priest, there's a salt covenant, not for the people. The only thing you're told is to dump the blood out. It says you pour the blood on the floor. Well, today I don't think you're going to pour blood on your kitchen floor. You pour it in your kitchen sink and wash it down the sink. That's all. Yeah. So things are changing here in Israel. There's people coming in here and trying to open up discount. Now, if Amazon ever opens up here, they'll probably kill the retailers here. They have a warehouse near Haifa that's so big. I've had it for years. They started to open up and they never did. Maybe COVID stopped it. I wouldn't be surprised. And then the war. So they might use that warehouse at another point in time. I mean, it's probably, 150,000 square feet. I mean, it's huge. Could be even bigger. It's a massive thing. And then if they do it, then they're going to start giving you same-day delivery, and they're going to bring food in there. Now, what are they going to do with food? They're going to give you the regular Israeli stuff, or maybe not even bother with that and just get the more foreign type of food, like American food that you can't get in Israel. And they may do that, or they may do both. But the retailers are generally crooks. Look, I'm not on a hate binge for a little shopkeeper that, has a store with 600 or 800 square feet. I'm not, wait. It's these people just want to keep running the prices up. One day when we first were here many years ago, my wife wanted to get I think it was called a backpack purse thing. So hers broke, so we went walking around by the Sea of Galilee. They got a ton of shops, and we went into a shop, and we saw they had a nice one in there, and she wanted to change the color, so we grabbed one. We paid for it, and we left. And then we went home, and then we saw something was left off, and a compartment that should have been opened, it wouldn't open. It was never opened. Something was really wrong with it. So the next day we brought it back. It was a short walk from where we were staying. We brought it back, and we said, this is what's wrong. Could we change it for another one? And the woman tells us, I can't do it today. I got to have the boss here or something. You got to come tomorrow. Well, what she was figuring was this. We were there yesterday, the day before we went in, and we're there that day. She figures that we're tourists because we were talking English, and that eventually we wouldn't be staying there over that thing. It was far from expensive. It was very cheap. And we would just leave and throw it away and take the loss, right? That's a nice way to do business, right? So I didn't know what was going on there. So I said, okay, to me, I'm there. I wasn't going anywhere. So the next day we went back, and she wasn't too happy to see us. And I said, where's the boss? And she gets a guy from 2 or 3 stores down. So the guy must own a few stores. He comes in and he tells me that there's an extra cost in doing the exchange. So I'm sitting there thinking, I said, what the heck? There was something wrong with the product. So I said, Michigas. And he was an Orthodox-ish Jew, and that's a Yiddish word that could be close to a Hebrew word too, very similar. It means crazy, right? So he knew I was Jewish. Who speaks Yiddish? So he knew Yiddish. He was Ashkenaz, and he said, "Oh, you live here?" I said, "Yeah, Ken." And he said, "Oh my God," he got all upset what he did. So he said, "Okay, I'm sorry. Here, which one do you want? Pick one out." "Okay, it's done. Here, it's yours. No charge, no nothing. Are you satisfied? Are you happy now?" I said, "Yes, thank you. It's no big deal." He says, "Okay, I just want to make sure you're happy." You see, he was believing you can't do this to another Jew. So that's why sometimes if you need to hire somebody, maybe it's electricity, carpentry, roofing, the car, and you see the guy's an Orthodox Jew, maybe with the kippah and the tzitzit, you got a good chance he might deal with you fairly, okay? But you got to be careful because he could be doing the Kabbalah and then he's horrible, you know? So you got to be careful. But if you get the Orthodox, they get the idea, they're taught that you can rip off the goyim, do whatever you want with them, but you can't do it to another Jew. If that helps you. But anyway, let's get a prayer going. We got plenty of spiritual warfare laying on these guys' heads, so we're okay there, I think. My Heavenly Father, Yehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for all the true believers and their families and households, and my wife and me, that we would all be happy, healthy, and whole, and your healing and recuperative power would flow through us. We wouldn't get sick or hurt and keep healing. And we'd be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole, as would our animals and pets, and we would have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no getting stopped, stuck, or stranded with any vehicle or mode of transportation, and we wouldn't get discriminated against for our faith or any other reason. We wouldn't get robbed, ripped off, scammed, frauded, or our deliveries would come rapidly. And I pray that you would lift off of us any witchcraft or works of the unclean spirits and the people that serve the unclean spirits. We wouldn't get any darts of the enemy, that we would all be aware of the devices of the enemy, Satan and them, and the demons, and they wouldn't get over on us, and we'd have more than adequate money that we need. If we need work, we get work. If we need clients and customers, we get that, and we have peace in our household, and we have no problems from governments, neighbors, courts, judges, credit bureaus, employers, co-workers, church people, or any kind of Satan bot. You would set us free from their curses and problems they make for us using corporations, using banks, using employers, landlords, anything, It's all with money with them. And you would lift all those problems off us so we don't have to waste our time and energy dealing with them. Because they're all evil, and they're contrived in evil. And I pray for the peace of Yerushalayim, and I'm out. Oh, that's it. And B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if you're a believer, agree with that. And I pray also, my Heavenly Father, that Satan and the unclean spirits and those that serve the unclean spirits have no control anymore whatsoever over Israel, Iran, Yemen, Lebanon, Gaza, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iran, I think I said, the UK, France, Germany, America, Canada, Mexico. They have no control, no ability to manipulate this country. They're not allowed to do so. They can't do it, and they're not allowed to do it, and they therefore will not be manipulating any of these countries or their elections or any of their policies or practices, and they will not anymore discriminate against real believers in these nations, that you would see to it that this happens. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, Yehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this too, even if it's a video at the time, it will still work. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and